number 25 Washington at number 6 Oregon. That is at 7:00 Eastern time on Fox. The way I want to set this up is by saying I'm in a group chat where we talk ball with Geoff, and we were talking about Georgia, Tennessee, and Geoff says, "Hey, can you not? This is Washington, Oregon week. This is the week that matters."
Yeah. Well, for those who don't realize, Oregon and Washington are direct rivals. Oregon State and Washington State are like the little stepbrothers. Like they're just like, it's not like Oregon State has had more success against Oregon and we played in more important games. Oregon State, Oregon over the last 20 years. And yet we're like, all right. Like
take it or leave it.
Yeah. But Washington, man, can't stand them. I'm not going to cuss on this podcast, but we can't. Washington is just, and RJ, Washington has won 6 games in the last 26 appearances against Oregon. The 1 year was skipped was the COVID year. More recently, Oregon's won 15 of 17. I never lost to Washington. So Oregon has dominated this. And I'm telling you right now, they're going to score at will in this game. Washington is in the 90s in points per drive on defense. When they played any offense with a semblance of a pulse, UCLA, Arizona, they've allowed a ton of points. They played worse on the road this year. Look at UCLA, at Arizona State, 2 of their losses. At Cal, only win that game by 7. This game is in Oregon, and I have not seen Oregon this year. I guess the first 3 drives against Cal kind of stunk, but they really haven't played like a stinker. Like they just come out each week with new things to do, new plays to run. Their offensive line has yet allowed a sack this season. I just don't know if Washington can slow them down at all. And I think Oregon's defense can do enough for Washington's passing attack. Something to notice in this game, can be geeky like me, Washington doesn't pass the ball very often in the middle of the field. And if you watch them play better defenses, Cal, UCLA, they have trouble because it's fairly obvious what they're doing. They don't run the ball enough, which they should run it more. They're like 120th in the country in rush attempts per game. And they just sit back and pass the ball. And if they have a 3 and out, it takes 45 seconds. They punt the ball back, and now your defense is back on the field. And we're seeing their offensive numbers kind of slowly decline each week as they kind of play better opponents too. So I think Oregon wins this game, and we get ready for Utah in a glorious weekend of Pac-12 football next weekend. UCLA, USC, and Oregon, Utah. I just love our coaching staff, man. I know, look, Lanning may or may not leave. I don't think he will, but that answer he gave yesterday was fantastic. He's a good coach. He's a good coach. They're well coached. Bo Nix might end up in New York at some point. I don't know. Maybe premature discussion, but playing his ass off, man. So I'm looking forward to this game. Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, man. My wife even asked me to go on a date this weekend. And I was like, Oregon, Washington's on, babe. Sorry. I turned down a date with my wife. We go like 3 dates a year, 3 dates a season. I turned one down to watch this game, man. It's a Washington week. It matters.
Hey, man, I have that same conversation every weweek. It's football season. I'm on the clock 24/7. That's what it is. You know, as much as this job is awesome, those are sometimes uncomfortable conversations to have. You know, another uncomfortable conversation for me to have is, your man Bo Nix, he's a Heisman candidate, especially after what we have seen since week 2. He has been one of the best players in the country since week 2. And a 46-point loss is really difficult to forget. It's also really difficult to forget that Bo Nix versus an SEC opponent hasn't been great. And that probably doesn't change unless we see some drastic moving and shaking at the top. But I'm also going into this game going 3 of the 4 best quarterbacks, I believe, in that conference are all transfers, right? And I could throw Dorian Thompson-Robinson or Cam Rising in there at number 4, but Caleb Williams, Michael Penix Jr., and of course your man Bo Nix have been playing their behinds off. To your point that Dan Lanning gave a great answer, I believe it was, and I'm paraphrasing here, they say the grass isn't always greener, but it's pretty damn green in Eugene. I'm very happy here. And I said, hey man, that's what everybody wants to hear. You don't want to hear your coach talking about, I've got everything I want over here, and or I'm happy. No, you just want an unequivocal, no, I'm here. I want to be here. And frankly, why wouldn't you want to be there?
Loved it.
Well, okay. So we're in agreement that Dan Lanning is
the last thing I'll say. The last thing I'll say on this is that if Dan Lanning wins, if he gets to 10 wins, which is quite possible, he'll be the 5th coach to win 10 games since 2005 at Oregon. Like, we win a lot at Oregon. Yeah, Bellotti, right? In 05, we won 10. Chip, Helfrich, Mario, and Lanning. You win a lot of Oregon. It's a good place to be. Like, it's impressive. Yeah, I know. I'm ready for that. Stats coming out after their 10th win on Twitter. It's going to be out there.
Look here. I will never let anybody forget that Joey Harrington was on the cover of my NCAA jewel box. And I said, for who, for what? For who, for what? And ever since, they've been pretty damn good. And they've been one of those programs that we have to talk about in college football. Also, closing and that I opened, the spread is Texas as a 7-point favorite against Texas Christian in Austin, according to Fox Bet. That's a full touchdown for the number 4 team and the 9-0 Texas Christian Horned Frogs. I would take that part personally if I were them. Last game that you and I need to talk about tonight, number 9 Alabama at number 11 Ole Miss. A lot of juicy details here. The first for me is that Alabama's coming off its second regular season loss in a season for the first time since, its second regular season loss in a season before Thanksgiving since 2010. And they haven't had a 3-loss season since 2010. It feels like Lane Kiffin is due to beat his mentor. What do you think?
So Alabama, let me pull this up just to make sure I have this correct. They have played 4 road games this season. All right. At Texas, I think we agree that maybe if Quinn Ewers was healthy, that's a loss, but it wasn't. They won by 1. At Arkansas, remember the game was like tied at halftime, right? And there's something around there, and the Alabama took off, right? At Tennessee, lost, and then at LSU lost. Now they're at Ole Miss. They played the worst games of the road. That's been a trend, by the way, this season. A lot of road teams are not winning games at as we maybe seen previous years, and that's tough because I think they're just not as good, and so playing on the road is more difficult. The wide receivers aren't as good as they have in the past. Offensive line's just not quite as good. Bryce Young's fantastic. Defensively, Will Anderson, great, right? But I don't think their defense is as feared as it used to be. And this is the kind of the people for a long time said that NIL was going to be bad for the sport. And I think me and you very strongly pushed back against that. But we're seeing this now where if Georgia for 2 or 3 years pulls away 2 recruits a year from Alabama, if Miami gets 2 recruits from Alabama, and you start pulling these guys away, Alabama's not as good, and it kind of spreads the talent around a little bit. I think we're seeing that happen to Alabama right now. They're still well coached. Nick Saban knows how to coach, but they're just not as good as we've seen in the past. And a team like Ole Miss now can certainly take advantage of that, especially defensively, as Alabama again has allowed late touchdown drives. That used to never be a thing they did, right? They never allowed late touchdown drives. I think Ole Miss offensively has a chance at home to win this game. I would have said 2 weeks ago, no chance. But I think now you have to say, hey, there's a possibility that Alabama loses 2 games in a row.
It would be the first time that has happened since 2007, which is Alabama's first season with Nick Saban at the helm. And also until 2021, when Texas A&M had done it, the last time they lost to an unranked opponent in ULM, there was a lot of moving and shaking. I also think there's a great point that you raise in there about how Alabama has lost football games. The 1-point loss to Texas is also on the road. The 3-point loss to Tennessee also on the road, but they got a defensive touchdown. And I can't remember the last time that Alabama lost a football game where they got a defensive touchdown. And then LSU Bama, Brian Kelly said, hey, Jaden Daniels, you want to go be heroic? Mason Taylor, you want to go be heroic? You want to go win the damn game? Let's go do that. But to set that up, Dallas Turner got outrun by Jaden Daniels. I hadn't seen that before. That's the guy playing opposite Will Anderson for the folks that are uninitiated. And Brian Branch had to come in and play for a guy like Malachi Moore that I just thought was going to be outstanding when he first got to Bama. A lot to clean up in as far as Alabama's bar is set, but by no means is a bad football team. And frankly, Bryce Young has bailed them out of more plays than I think any other quarterback in football this year. Just been a magician out there.
He's been fabulous. And I think we're seeing his ability to make these plays makes him really attractive to pro teams, right? Because I think we see at times when what's so funny?
I'm laughing because running for your life is what you're going to have to do as a rookie quarterback.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're the Texans, right? But I think we're seeing it's really hard for college quarterbacks that have it quote unquote easy in college, where guys are open all the time, to come in the NFL where a window is literally the size of a ball and like be confident in making those throws, because you don't have to do it for 4 years in college or 3 years in college. It's tough to think to yourself, okay, this guy's not even open yet, I got to throw him open. How often are quarterbacks in college football throwing guys open? Rarely,
Very
right?
rarely. Very rarely.
Yeah. And so I think that the ability for him to move and get out of situations and still complete passes and still kind of show that confidence, like that to me is what teams look at more, I think, now than just like, can you hit an open guy? Everyone in college football can hit an open guy, but it's these little intangible things that I think make him special that NFL teams really like when he has to make those plays when his offensive line can't block.
I think that's absolutely correct. I'm going to be interested to see if Jackson Dart can match him play for play. I know Ole Miss can run the football. I know they'll try to limit the opportunities that Alabama
the offense
has
for
to...
Mississippi makes that difficult, I think. Like, it's just they just want to get rid of the ball like ASAP. Like, if you hit the hole in the ball, it's not what they want their offense to be.
Well, hey, look, man, I'm all for Lane Kiffin pulling out a bag of tricks this weekend. If
he
not
will
this weekend, then there won't be. Right, exactly. Then we're both going to be looking forward to this game going on. Thank you for watching the #1 college football show. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that you don't miss any of the best college football coverage in America.